Hello everyone and welcome to the What I Am Watching series. It was a tiny idea I had for a long time and I want to bring it back. Pretty much how tech reviewers have a what's in my tech bag or makeup personalities have a what makeup am I using. This is for any show I have watched but have not covered or don't have a review planned for just yet, and a little bit of Q&A. Also plug in my Twitter. One of the more recent shows I've been watching is Rick and Morty, specifically the latest episode at the time of writing this, Never Rick and Morty.
It's not a real train, it's a story device. Literally. A literal, literary device, quite literally, metaphorically containing us. A simulation. Worse. An anthology.
It's a very weird episode that I've heard replaces interdimensional cable. It's a weird episode that starts on a train in which we see that Rick and Morty are self-aware of the fact that they are going through a story. Lots of times the words canon, non-canon, and meta are thrown around in the episode, with a lot of the episode just being this mind-bendingly odd presentation. I enjoyed the tiny amount of skits that you see throughout the episode, from Morty having to come up with a story that always involves scorpions to that amazing fight at the end, in which every time Rick or Morty were pushed through the train glass, they would go through a different canon, non-canon story.
Our potential isn't limitless. You'll never break the fifth wall before you burnt us out.
Is that so? Oh well, win-win.
Rick, what's he doing? Trying to tap into us, Morty.
I also enjoyed the tiny scene where we saw Dan Harmon's story circle. It just seemed like a really cool way to incorporate the fact that he's looked very deep into the meta aspect of storytelling. I'd recommend giving it a watch alongside the entire season. Is there anything that you will never ever cover on your show, no matter how many people ask you to?
I'm just a kid who's 4. Each day I grow some more. I like exploring. I'm Caillou.
Well, I'm singling out Caillou purely because of the number of requests that comes for that show specifically, but I don't want to cover preschool shows. It's kind of why I passed on Miraculous Ladybug around the time it came out. You can't look at that show and not tell me that you would put it with the other Nick Jr. lineup. Not saying that I have that opinion anymore, by the way, I want to make that clear. I don't want to cover preschool shows because you have to be in a different mindset to be able to explain certain things, because the shows are written differently, and they lean heavily on morals. It can get pretty messy. I have been debating on breaking that rule to cover the new Baby Shark cartoon because of the novelty, but I have to see how the episodes look. However, that isn't to say that I wouldn't cover something that's purely out of my range for the comedic value. Since there are more episodes out now, would you say the Owl House has improved since you've last reviewed it? Funny you mention that, because I have seen the next few episodes of the Owl House. I plan to talk about it once I finish the season. Speaking of Disney, recently I've been getting back into rewatching Milo Murphy's Law, and I want to center in on the episode The Dr. Zone Files. It's a very early episode of the show, in which I remember at the time being an episode that stuck with me.
It's just been really quiet around Milo today.
Oh, that's the thing about Murphy's Law. It's unpredictable.
I've got the immediate area cordoned off. Now, if you can just try not to do anything?
Although it's a largely above average episode, I thought about the topic of Milo's sister being around Milo for years on end and having to deal with his effect, or is it a law? The show could have made it so that his sister ostracizes him for it, like many other people within the show. However, she seems to be one of the warmest people, considering how she doesn't mind it. Have you ever come across a show that has dramatically changed you? Or has a show really impacted you in a way that no other show has done before? Well, that's pretty easy. Final Space.
What are my chances of getting out of this mess?
In your current state, you will pass the point of recovery in 10 minutes. You are also leaking O2, Gary.
It was the first season of Final Space when I saw Gary for the first time, when I noticed that I enjoy meaner, selfish characters. However, it was Ali's pack when I noticed that you have to be funny or endearing in some way to pull it off, or else you can come across as whiny. When I think of Blue, he's funny, but mean. Eddie, funny but mean. Gumball, funny but mean. Mau Mau, not particularly mean per se, but definitely could be selfish, but very funny. It seems that you need both to pull it off. And I enjoy these characters a lot more than a Lincoln or KO or Mabel. I want you to show me what's in your fridge. You don't keep bamboo in the fridge. Would you keep chips in the refrigerator? What do you expect about the Gumball movie? Nothing. I don't expect it to come out, but I wouldn't be surprised if it snuck up on me. I think a lot of people put a lot of expectation on The Amazing World of Gumball having a movie, but as big of a fan that I am, I'm perfectly happy with the 6 seasons and hundreds of episodes we have so far. So I don't expect anything.
Have you been crying?
No, I just have really sweaty eyes. Wait, that's disgusting. Yeah, I was crying.
So I watched the first episode of The Midnight Gospel and whoa, I've never been taken aback by a show since Infinity Train, really. This does seem to be a little bit out of my scope since it talks a lot about drugs and existential topics, but it does make me think about broader, more abstract topics in a paradoxically clearer way.
There's this chemical that's neither good nor bad. It just exists out there. We either created it or exist in nature. And then it's the relationship that humans have with the substance that is the issue.
I love this first episode. They're just going through a zombie apocalypse and they're bonding. These two strangers, they just met and they just bond in a way that you'd probably only see with best friends or I guess good podcast hosts guest relationships, I suppose. I feel like this episode is loaded with a lot of symbolism that is way above my bracket, but I plan to watch it over and over until I understand it. I recommend it for anyone who likes podcasts or just talking about really abstract and out there topics. Why did your logo look like A, it was trying to sell root beer, or B, it was made for a college hockey team? That's really funny because you're right, it does. It came from Fiverr, that's why. I wanted a quick way to get out a logo, but slowly over time after receiving more resources and contacting proper artists and graphic designers to assist in building a stronger identity, over the years everything just seemed to get better as I went for less cheapness and more for quality and custom built work. But in the beginning, I'd never recommend someone to romanticize the idea of how their channel looks. Just get it done quick and dirty and later on start to iterate and improve. They say this in writing, music, art, so why wouldn't it also apply to YouTube? Any mental health tips that have personally helped you in recent times that you would recommend? In recent times, well, I'm no expert in mental health or recent times, but I do have some fundamentals that always need to be improved. I'm a strong believer in what you immerse yourself in will become you, so if you're around people who don't respect you or make you feel awful or unproductive or have a negative outlook on life, eventually you'll become that. Another thing to think of is progress less in days and more in terms of months and years. I was very judgmental of myself and others when I started out, and I knew I wanted to become less of that after a very nasty falling out with someone. It took a lot of days and iterations across days and weeks and so many interactions across months and years for me to get out of that mindset. Improvement happens silently in the daily, so when it comes to art, just being able to get a sketch done or get a little bit farther in the song you're making or flesh out a script for just a paragraph more, it may not seem like you're doing much, but when you add this across 2 years, 3 years, 5 years in my case, you start to become a better version of yourself that you can feel happier about. Well guys, that is what I'm watching. Thank you guys so much for the questions. If you have more, let me know in the comments down below. I'll be answering as many as I can. Special thanks to the supporters of May, and until next time, take care. Alpha out.